Alright, so I'm going to go through my session quickly here for the Ninjavideo Dead Prez a song for the competition. I sound like a dork because I've got a cold and I usually sound terrible anyway, but that's neither here nor there. So basically, the original lyrics were 77 beats per minute. I found that out by just looking it up on Google. You can do it yourself, but I mean, if someone has already done the work for you, why not use that information? So at 77 beats per minute, I knew I wasn't going to make an actual hip-hop remix or anything like that because I suck at hip-hop and I'm better at sort of dance music, electronic stuff. So to get to a decent drum and bass BPM, I had to get up to about 170 where I wanted to be. So I had to increase the speed of these vocals. I put it up to 85 beats per minute, and so when I doubled that for the double time on the drums for drum and bass, that makes a perfect 170. So I just used this time stretch here, just put in the original tempo and the resulting tempo that I wanted, and just make sure all your settings are right. Process. It sounds good enough. Like, you can go through and really tweak it out perfectly, but that was good enough for me on this. So that was fine. Basically on the intro here, I used well, first of all, I EQ'd all the low end out of it because there was a bit of, I don't know, a bit of resulting extra bass that I didn't need, so I took that all out, sweetened up a bit of the highs here. I do like a lot of mid-high stuff in my vocals, so that's just my preference. And then right for the very intro here, I used this plugin called Speakerphone, and it emulates a lot of different outputs of different speakers. So this one I've used a little toy truck or something like that for this distortion. They've got tons of different speakers that they've captured, like the responses of them. So you can even make it sound like it's coming out of different types of headphones, car speakers, phones, a lot of really messy things, so it's a lot of fun to play with. So I used that, a bit of compression, because these vocals were, I don't know, not compressed enough for my liking, so I added a bit of compression with the Waves C1. Alright, yeah, and then just basically for this part here, just stretched that hop out, just didn't care that it sounded crappy because I did want it to sound crappy, like it's not supposed to sound like a real stretch, and you just want one of those dirty things. Okay, so I've got my bass line here. And that was massive. Massive is amazing at making really dirty basses and stuff for drum and bass. Lots of tons and tons of settings that you can make here. I mean, I'm not going to get into synthesis in this video, but it had that dirty sound to it, but it really didn't have a lot of low end, so I doubled it up, just exactly emulating the notes that the dirty massive bass was doing with a sub bass. So they're just doubling up here, so you get so it just gives it that whole low end that I needed for the bass. So like, you've got the mid highs here for a bass line, and then the super sub to really give it that, I don't know what you'd call it, just an extra punch, I guess. Anyway, what else was I going to say? Okay, drum loops, yes. So for the opening drum loop here, I found a cool drum loop in one of my sample packs that I have. I'm just using AMG Solo. I love this program. It's just a quick and dirty thing for loading Rex files or other types of loop files. It's got filters all built in. Just really, just quick little features that you can add to your loops and stuff that makes everything a lot easier. Not as much power as, you know, Contact or something like that has, but AMG Solo is really good for just quick editing. So So I made this opening loop sort of a half time just by chopping it up, just by playing it differently than just holding down the key. So you get and then when you just let the loop go, it's the exact same loop. It's just chopped up in a different way. So I sort of had the slower hip-hopier beat over here, and then as soon as that kicks in, you get the faster jungle beat. I keep calling it jungle. I don't know if they call it jungle anymore. It's more drum and bass. Anyhow, here, for me, I do work in a lot of 16-bar notches, I guess, just groupings. That's what a lot of people, that's what like just the industry standard is, really, like pop songs, any dance music. It's usually 16 beat bars, then something happens, 16 beats, something happens, 16 bars, sorry. So here, all I've introduced in the start was just the bass line and the drums and the vocals. That's all you get. Once those 16 bars are over, then I add some pads, 16 bars, and then the main melody line that I've added over here. So for me, I like to, if I'm going to switch something up, if I'm going to add another instrument, I have to make it so that there is some sort of lead up, something to make people think, oh, something's going to happen, you know, like it perks your ears up a bit. So what I did was had the main drum loop going, then switched it with another drum loop, had sort of a swell effect going here. I'll show you those in a second. So it's, and then add a new thing. So it's just drum beat, drum beat, drum beat, and then different drum beat over here. I think like sound effects are so essential to dance music. This swell down here really lets you know that something's going to happen. So it's going to kick in right here. So you just sort of have a notion of something happening, and then a big couple crashes here. Just to really emphasize that, you know, something new is added. Then I've got this pad that's introduced. I mean, with everything there, you don't really notice that pad too much, but it's just enough to let people know that something has been added. I actually drew a little diagram here of what I like my. This is just for me personally. This is just what I do in my own music. You got your intro. It gets to a point where everything's like really hot and, you know, interesting, but that's only, you're not pulling all your tricks out of the bag yet. Then I slow it down, have a little bit of a silent time, then go for the big finish at the end, and then lead it out with the outro. Like I was telling some people, you know, it's like if you're watching sports and the commentator's always up here, when something cool actually does happen, a goal, you know, touchdown, whatever, if you're always up here, then that touchdown doesn't seem as interesting. If, you know, you're a little bit intense, a little bit low, then you hit that big spot, you know, then, I mean, you can't have the highs without the lows, right? So that's why I do it in sort of a wave like this. And I mean, for a song this short, 2 minutes, I mean, this comes and goes so quickly. But for like longer trance tunes, you're talking 7-8 minutes. You could have multiple peaks and valleys, and that's just what I love about creating music, is just bringing the listener up and down all the time.